President Brennan Moore, thank you for joining us. So there seems to be a persistent problem here for CAP. Have you ever raised this with senior officials in the Liberal government? And if you did, what was their response?
You know, since I've been elected as chief, I've been trying to have any kind of communication with members of the Liberal government, and I've just been dismissed completely. I haven't even been given the option of meetings in the future, basically, you know, like at times receiving replies, you know, to that as if I was just a child sending a communication to the Liberal government thanking me for writing. So there's been zero communication whatsoever with the current Liberal government in regards to the missing and murdered Indigenous women's exclusion for the Congress of Aboriginal Peoples.
CAP was known as having a closer relationship with the Stephen Harper government than some other Indigenous organizations. Do you think the organization is being punished for this relationship by the current federal government?
You know, and I'm not sure where the motivation comes from in attempting to disenfranchise the off-reserve. I know, you know, like politics is new for me. You know, since I've been here the last year and a half, I was at a question period where it was the Conservative government that actually brought us up as an organization that is recognized as representing Indigenous peoples in Canada. And you know, every other party besides a few of the Bloc Québécois sat on their hands, you know, after they recognized us. So I'm not quite sure where the motivation comes from. I'm not sure if it's pressure from organizations like AFN, ITK, or MNC, but I think it's more likely that it's divisive measures coming from the Crown in order to ensure that Indigenous peoples don't get along and gain equity in our society.
Yeah. National Chief, if you follow the polls, it appears likely the Conservatives could be elected to the government in the next federal election here. If this happens, do you think CAP will be in a better position in terms of being included in some of these Indigenous roundtables and councils?
Well, the Conservatives are the only party right now who are communicating with us and recognizing us as an organization that represents Indigenous peoples, and they assure us that we will be included in such, so I hope so. And you know, that's what we're looking for. We're looking to be included equitably as all Indigenous peoples are in these tables. So it seems like it might be, but you know, hopefully that would happen with whatever government forms after the next election.
And looking at the federal government overall and the public, does there continue to be a problem in understanding who makes up CAP and what the organization does?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we don't have a lot of capacity. We're not giving a lot of funding, and so it's a little bit more difficult for us to deal with some of the issues. I know, like, we have the pretendian issue going around and fraud as Indigenous people, and you know, we deal with that across the board. We deal with the same issues that reserves deal with, and the government of Canada themselves, Indigenous Service Canadians, when they're trying to process status cards. We deal with the same kind of issues, but the difference is in capacity to mitigate the challenges. But at the end of the day, the organizations have a long-standing foundation of representing Indigenous peoples who's been disenfranchised by Section 35 or the government of Canada in general. And we're here to ensure that Indigenous peoples carry on their rights, even if the Indian Act decides that they've mathed out of being a 6.1 or 6.2 Indigenous person.
National Chief Brennan Moore, will have to leave it there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.